folks, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Living in the Chicagoland Suburbs. This session today will be a continuation of Chapter 1 on how to be entertained when you live in the city or in the suburbs of Chicagoland. And I'm going to touch upon the various forms of entertainment and enjoyment that you can have here in Chicago. This is going to be a session that kind of scratches the surface of what's available to you when you're living here. What I suggest is that you jot down any items of particular interest and then do a deep dive into them via Google, etc. I'm going to give you the highlights and what I feel, from my point of view, are exciting places to go and do and be entertained here in Chicagoland. We're not called the second city for nothing. We are indeed the second city, certainly when it comes to live theater. We are not New York. We don't have the Lincoln Center and the throughout New York and for that matter the world. There's the Folies Bergère, there's the Globe Theatre in London, there's the Théâtre du Palais Royal in Paris. So we're probably second banana to most of those extraordinary theaters in extraordinary cities. Exciting venues. One of them is the Shakespeare Chicago Navy Pier. We talked a lot about Navy Pier yesterday and the various venues that are there for your Chicago Shakespeare Theater. Was started a couple of decades ago and provides obviously productions dealing with the Bard, Shakespeare. But amongst there are other ventures that they go into. They deal with a little more contemporary stuff or adaptations of Shakespeare's plays, etc. We have the Goodman Theater, which interestingly was, when it began, was housed at the Art Institute. I remember being a member for a number of years, and until they had in the heart of the city on Randolph, and it houses a couple of black box theaters, main stage, and then others that sometimes do a little more avant-garde performances. In addition to that, we have the Steppenwolf Theater, which his major claim to fame was when one of their members, Tracy Letts, wrote the famous production of August Osage County. This play premiered here in Chicago at the Steppenwolf, was received with tremendous praise and excitement. In fact, my wife and I were in attendance at one of the performances, and when it was over, you sat there knowing that this you had. And indeed, Mr. Letts won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama that year. Play when I performed there, and then you're probably familiar with the rather remarkable film of August Osage County, starring Meryl Streep and countless others. Excuse me, my goodness. Anyhow, these theaters that we have here in the city that are homegrown, the Steppenwolf indeed was founded by Gary Sinise. It is a homegrown product. It certainly doesn't compare to the theaters in New York, the Apollo, the Lincoln Center, etc. Nor does it compare to the theaters of Royal in Paris, along with Folies Bergère. Various exciting things that we have in Chicagoland. And the list on the live theater, the other forms of entertainment, the zoos, the Lincoln Park Zoo in the Chicago Lincoln Park, oddly enough, very close to one of the theaters that we discussed in an earlier session, the Mon Ami Gabi, somewhat French Let's Entertain You restaurant. Those zoos certainly don't compare to, for example, the Bronx Zoo in New York, quite an exceptional Columbus Zoo in Ohio, and then the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans. So there are countless zoos throughout the country, and for that matter throughout the world. But Brookfield and Lincoln Park certainly hold their own when it comes to viewing exotic animals and the traditional exciting animals that we always go to the zoo for, the gorilla and the lions and tigers, etc. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my! Anyhow, zoos and outdoor sort of entertainment. We have the Casino World. There's the Four Winds Casino just over the border in Indiana. There's the Potawatomi in Milwaukee. We've got Elgin Museum. There's casino. There's also a casino in Rosemont, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, not far from O'Hare Airport. So we have a goodly number of casinos. If that's your form of entertainment and you do it here in Chicago, You have all these other venues you can go to, and maybe of an evening you can have a nice dinner, and then step up to one of the tables, the crap tables, or sit at one of the blackjack tables. My personal preference is, of course, in the casino. We also enjoy the world of comedy clubs, the clubs, the city. It housed improv productions, but the film school housed the Second City. I had the privilege of performing in one of that school. It's interesting that you petition every year that it must be comedy. The Harold Ramis Foundation only endorses and supports comedy films, and it's kind of an interesting. This year, our baseball teams are in the bottom, the American and the National League, but Wrigley Field is an iconic stadium, rivaled only by possibly Fenway Park. Frankly, I've been to both, and Wrigley, hands down, wins the Icon Award for playing fields that started when the concept of American baseball started. There is the Guarantee Rate Field, which is the home for the Chicago White Sox. It's on the south side. And there's, in that same general area, there's the United Center, which boasts the performances of the Chicago Hawks, Blackhawks, and the Chicago Bulls. I've never been much of a fan since Michael Jordan retired from the sport. But we do house that NBA team along with the Women's National Basketball Association team, Chicago Sky. So we've got a plethora of sporting events that are available to you if that is your particular ilk. There are other delightful areas to be entertained. There's the Botanic Gardens out in the north suburb of the city of Chicago. I mentioned those at Navy Pier, but there are Mandela dinner cruises. You go out onto the Lake Michigan, you're served a fine dinner, and view of the city of Chicago, which, by the way, is quite remarkable when viewed from the lake itself. The evening cruise, of course, is particularly exciting with the lit skyline of the city, etc. There are, in addition to that, however, the Wendella cruises, they have a arc tour that goes up the Chicago River with a professional guide that points out all of the remarkable architectural achievements of the buildings that sit in the city of Chicago. We enjoy some of the photos that we've put together with that. Along with the boat tours, there's also a four-masted schooner that goes out on the lake for cruises during the day. It's also powered by diesel engines, but nonetheless, they get on the lake at throttles. Why you'll have a rush and thrill that only seats dozens of people. It's not a little 20-foot Boston whaler or something like that. This overwhelming experience in terms of you can also rent a kayak out at Navy Pier and kayak either one or two men kayak. There are countless opportunities in the reflection off the beam. It's actually I believe it's called the Cloud by the artist. The old Chicagoans have called it the beam because of its shape, which is quite reminiscent of a beam. Anyhow, so there are those things. All of these come together and provide you with the inclination that you might have from casinos, galleries, theater itself. Subscribe button and follow us. In the future, you'll find other informative sessions that we have. Oftentimes, they'll even deal with the actual issue of real estate, buying and selling. If you're interested in those types of videos, precisely with real estate itself, and we'll return to those venues in the near future. But it seemed sensible to give you an idea of what you can do once you've bought your home here in Chicago or in the Chicagoland suburbs. What's available to you in terms of your subscribe to the channel. Your topics quite interesting and exciting. If you have a burning question about real estate and you just can't wait for the next video or go back to some of my older ones, please feel free to call me. It's on the screen there, 847-651-2582. Say good evening to you. It's dmciesil with Baird & Warner Real Estate. My channel is Living in Chicagoland Suburbs. Enjoy, take care, and be safe.